Hi, my name is Tracy Guillet, and I am here to talk about introversion. So, introverted teens and some of the struggles that they can go with. Before I pop into that, I want to first say thank you to Krista and Community Now magazine for inviting me into the youth event to talk about what I know about introverted teens. I love talking about this, so really appreciate the opportunity to share what I know. So my name is Tracy Guillet. I work with introverted teens and adults in my counseling practice here in Calgary. I help them around anxiety, social anxiety, issues with friends, issues kind of with overwhelming feelings, struggles in school, struggle in work, grief and loss, kind of those regular things that people show up for in counseling. But I combine that with what I know about what works best for us as introverts, what's normal for us as introverts, and so work with people in that way. And I love the work that I do. I really like working with my introverted teens, the introverted adults that I work with. So what today will look like, I'll talk about some of the common struggles that I see for introverted teens, and then some solutions that go with that. So what I see, anxiety is a big one that I see in my practice. Now, not every introvert struggles with anxiety, but that's a common reason why people typically show up for counseling. So kind of general anxiety and social anxiety. General anxiety is that kind of almost like worrying about anything and everything. Social anxiety, very specific to being social. So it can be hard to talk around people. It can be hard to make friends, hard to maintain friends. With that, we have this extrovert ideal that Susan Cain talks about. And the extrovert ideal is that like that's the right way to be. We're told it actually isn't the right way to be, but that's what we're told. And so as quiet people, we hear this message that we shouldn't be quiet, right? And I'm sure if you're introverted and you're listening to this, you've had that question, why are you so quiet? How come you don't talk? When you do talk, I can't believe you can talk. What's wrong with you? Are you upset? Or just you just find that you're just ignored, that people don't even seem to notice you, and that sense of being invisible. It's a really hard feeling, being invisible. So like all of those pieces can create social anxiety. The other thing is a bit not feeling like you fit in socially. Introverted teens tend to be more mature than their peers. So they might see their peers acting kind of silly, crazy, like doing things that they wouldn't do. And that feeling of difference, of not belonging, can show up. And then even with that, it can make it hard to talk about things because sometimes there isn't enough common interest to talk about things with everybody. So that can create some issues. As introverts, we tend to get overwhelmed easily when things are unpredictable, unexpected, or we're rushed. Even if we know that things happening, if we feel rushed, we can feel quite overwhelmed, almost panicky sometimes, right? If you're, maybe you slept in one morning and trying to get out the door to get to school and you're just like completely overwhelmed. I know my oldest is like that, and he has a bad day. If his day started out like that, he's just kind of off for the rest of the day. Like just that unpredictability that goes with that. And there's this thing, it's not really a concerning thing actually, but just we don't like to be watched. So if I'm on the computer and then somebody comes over and is watching what I'm doing, I just don't like it. It feels so uncomfortable. So you might notice that happens in school. Like if a teacher comes up to you and is watching your work, it just feels so uncomfortable. Another thing that can be hard to do for introverted teens is asking for help at school. There's like this worry about like almost like being too visible, putting your hand up in class feels way too much, like just too overwhelming. Sometimes depending on the teacher, you might be able to go up to the desk. I know during COVID, kind of depending on what it looks like in your school, but even that might feel really hard. And sometimes with my clients, I do a little bit of teaching about how do you ask for help? Like how do you manage the overwhelm that shows up when you ask for help? And then the last thing I'll say with this is that we can have a hard time letting go of things. So if somebody said something that hurt my feelings, that I might think about it for a day, like weeks, months sometimes, and I just can't let it go. And I can't believe they said that to me. I don't know why they would say that to me. I've been such a good friend. So we can do a lot of overthinking, which is exhausting. And it doesn't change anything, except it just feels kind of bad to keep doing that. So, so now I'm going to switch to some solutions with this. So I'd say the first thing to do is do some research around introversion. There's like so many good articles on the internet, and you'll find some of them aren't so great and some of them are really good to describe introversion, what's normal for us. Yeah, and it can feel just good to learn more about yourself in that way. I would also suggest researching highly sensitive person, because 70% of highly sensitive people are also introverted. And highly sensitive people is we feel our feelings a lot deeper than others, and we can feel the feelings of others too. So we're actually quite emotional. We might not be expressing it, but internally we can have so much like emotion, internal chaos that goes on. And so, yeah, so that might be helpful too, to see if you're a highly sensitive person, to help make sense of yourself. Once you find some good articles around introversion and highly sensitive person, if that fits, I suggest sharing that with your parents. Maybe if there's a teacher that you're close to, your siblings, extended family, friends, so then they can start to understand you better. So, as I said, with that extrovert ideal, people are thinking that that's the normal way to be. It's normal for extroverts. It's not normal for introverts. So the more people understand about us, the more we make sense, and it can create better relationships in that way. So I would suggest that. The other thing to look at, so if you do identify that you have a lot of anxiety, so kind of checking in around, is your anxiety unmanageable? And how I would define unmanageable is you can't concentrate. So at school, it's really hard to pay attention. When you're doing your homework, it's really hard to pay attention because you just have all this worry. You're falling behind in school, so your marks have started to go down. You can barely talk when you're with people. So that would be that social anxiety piece I talked about, where you want to talk, you want to be with others, but like you have the words to say, you can't get the words out. Or it's a bit like your mind is blank, like like your anxiety is so big, you can't even hear your thoughts. So then that, to me, that's concerning. If you have a hard time falling asleep, that's one thing that my clients will talk about, that they might not fall asleep until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they might have to get up at 7 to head off to school. And then lots of avoidance. So anxiety is really hard. So our brain's like, okay, just avoid the hard stuff. So then we might just start pulling away from friends. We might not reach out. Like if we're not in a good place with friends, like I know back in high school, sometimes I didn't have friends because I really struggled with social anxiety. So then I just kind of avoided other kids, right? So if you're doing a lot of avoiding, that would be concerning. So if any of this describes you, I think it would be important to tell a parent or a trusted adult to let them know how you're doing, so you can get some help with that, because anxiety typically doesn't go away without some kind of help. Right? And so then as you're listening to that, you're going, well, I know I struggle with anxiety, but I don't think it's that bad. Some of the things that can be helpful to do is noticing your thoughts when you're anxious. So our thoughts can help calm down our anxiety, or it can help increase the anxiety. So a common one that I'll hear is, when I have a test to take, I'm worried, like, did I study enough? I bet I'm going to fail. I'm not going to do as good as I did last time. So those thoughts will feed our anxiety. And to see if you can switch it to something like, I studied as best that I can. I'm going to be fine no matter what the mark is. And if that feels true, I know I did my best. So trying to find some more soothing, kind of nurturing things to tell yourself, and that can help calm down the anxiety. And then just notice in general what helps you be less anxious. So it might be a certain friend you talk to that you feel less anxious. Exercising can be a really good thing to help reduce anxiety. Talking to a parent hopefully can help reduce anxiety. So just starting to notice some of those things that can help. Yeah, and then really talking with somebody that you trust. about anxiety. So, and even, sorry, the other one I forgot to mention is slowing down your breathing, right? Because we can't be anxious and calm at the same time. So slowing down our breathing can help calm us down as well. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. Being introverted is really normal. There's nothing wrong with being introverted. There's great things about introverted people, great things about extroverted people. So as introverts, we really don't need to change who we are. But for me, my biggest thing was I had to learn how to like myself as an introvert. And once I did that, things got so much better. So, yeah. So if any of that sounds like it would be helpful to you, like definitely take some of what was there and use it. If you wanted to reach out and connect with me if you find that you could benefit from some help, I would love to hear from you. So again, my name is Tracy Guillet. And and a thank you again to Kristen Community Now magazine. Thanks.